Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Jamaica braces for world's strongest storm as brutal winds begin lashing the Caribbean nation as catastrophic Category 5 storm Melissa nears landfall. Thousands evacuated amid warnings of mass destruction. Ahead of his high-stakes meeting with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, US President Trump holds talks with Japanese PM Sanae Takaichi. Trade and security dominate the agenda. After Trump's 48-hour warning, Hamas returns the body of another deceased hostage. Remains of 12 hostages still held in Gaza. Israel lifts state of emergency near Gaza border for the first time since 2023. Tensions simmer between US and Venezuela as US flies B-1B bombers over the Caribbean. Caracas announces immediate suspension of energy agreements with Trinidad and Tobago over hosting of US naval warship. And on to the details now. Jamaica is bracing for the world's strongest storm as brutal winds began lashing the Caribbean nation ahead of the landfall of catastrophic Hurricane Melissa. Melissa has intensified into a Category 5 hurricane and is moving rapidly towards Jamaica, where it is expected to unleash catastrophic flooding, landslides and widespread damage. Well, it is expected to make landfall on the Caribbean island in the early hours of Tuesday. Also part of Melissa's punch stems from its slow pace. It is lumbering along slower than most people walk at just 3 miles per hour or less. Well, that means areas in the path could endure punishing conditions for far longer than during most hurricanes. Also, hours after ordering mandatory evacuations for parts of southern Jamaica, including the historic town of Port Royal, Prime Minister Andrew Holness called on foreign support and warned of damage to farmlands, homes and infrastructure such as bridges, roads, ports and airports. The Jamaican government has ordered evacuations for ports of Kingston, and the entire island has been classed as threatened. Also, the U.S. National Hurricane Center warned of catastrophic flash flooding, landslides and destructive winds that could cause lengthy power and communication outages along with extensive infrastructural damage. Also, Melissa would be the strongest hurricane in recorded history to directly hit the small Caribbean nation. After pummeling Jamaica, Melissa was forecast to head north and cross over eastern Cuba on Tuesday night, while continuing to bring rain and heavy winds to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The storm has already been blamed for the deaths of 4 people in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Also, Bahamian Prime Minister Philip Davis also ordered evacuations for people in southern and eastern parts of the archipelago, while much of eastern Cuba battened down ahead of Melissa's expected landfall. However, Hurricane Melissa is not forecast to reach the U.S. mainland. And moving on, US President Donald Trump, on the second leg of his Asia tour, met with Japan's first female Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi in Tokyo. In their first face-to-face meeting, the focus was on security and trade between their allied countries. Nakagawa thanked Trump for enduring friendship with former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and said that she wants to realize new golden age of Japan-US alliance. Trump responded saying that US is Japan's ally at strongest level. Well, Trump is also due to deliver a speech on Tuesday on the USS George Washington aircraft carrier docked at the U.S. naval base Yokosuka. He'll also have dinner with business leaders, likely including the chairman of car maker Toyota. Also, Trump arrived in Tokyo on Monday for a visit sandwiched between a trip to Malaysia and a meeting in South Korea with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. U.S. President called Japan Emperor Naruhito a great man after a courtesy call on Monday. Trump was the first foreign leader to meet Naruhito after he came to the throne in 2019, continuing an imperial line that some say is the world's oldest hereditary monarchy. And moving to West Asia now, Hamas on Monday handed over the remains of another deceased hostage. Hamas faces mounting pressure to return all the bodies promised under the Gaza ceasefire. Israeli forces received a coffin said to contain the 16th of 28 hostages killed in the October 7, 2023 attacks. Israeli officials and families of captives are urging Hamas to speed up the transfers, which have slowed since the release of 20 living hostages. Also, Hamas says it is committed to the ceasefire and insists it is trying to return all the remaining bodies, 11 Israelis and 2 workers from Thailand and Tanzania, but that the search has been hampered by the destruction wrought on Gaza during the conflict. In recent days, Egypt has sent recovery teams and heavy machinery into Gaza with Israeli approval to aid the search joined by Red Cross workers. On Monday, Defense Minister Israel Katz announced that Israel lifted the state of emergency for areas near the border with Gaza for the first time since the 2023 attack. Also, no timeline has been set for the next phase of the Gaza truce, but Washington is working to form an international security force of Arab and Muslim troops. Israel opposes any role for Turkey in that mission. And tensions escalated on Monday after 2 US B-1B bombers conducted a flight over the Caribbean near Venezuela, the third display of military power in recent weeks. According to flight tracking site Flight Radar 24, the bombers departed from a base in North Dakota and flew parallel to Venezuela's coastline before vanishing from radar. This follows a similar B-1B mission last week and a B-52 flight earlier this month, underscoring Washington's intent to ramp up pressure on President Maduro's government. And Venezuela's Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, said on Monday that authorities had detained 3 individuals allegedly in possession of CIA operational manuals, adding that they tried to erase data from their phones before being apprehended. Cabello denounced the recent joint military drills between the United States and Trinidad and Tobago near Venezuela's coastal waters, calling them a provocation against the country. He further claimed that forensic examinations of the confiscated phones uncovered links between the CIA and groups opposing the Venezuelan government. Over the weekend, Caracas issued a statement condemning what it described as a potential CIA-led false flag plot against Venezuela.
We live in peace in this country. Just leave us alone. It's undoubtedly aggression. These military exercises they are conducting jointly with Trinidad are provocations denounced in the statement you are referring to.
Well, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Monday announced the immediate suspension of an energy agreement with Trinidad and Tobago after the island nation welcomed a U.S. warship. In a televised address, he accused Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bharati of turning her country into an aircraft carrier for the American empire. Also, the move follows Vice President Delcy Rodriguez's call to halt gas deals in response to U.S. pressure. Trinidad had earlier secured a US license to develop the 4.2 trillion cubic foot Dragon gas field with a Shell and NGC located in Venezuelan waters. Also, relations between Caracas and Port of Spain have soured since Prasar Bharati's pro-US administration took office in April. Shell, NGC, BP and Trinidad's government have yet to comment on the suspension. And Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Prasar Bharati on Monday rejected Venezuela's threat to end a joint gas project over her government's decision to host a US warship. Prasar Bharati declared that she would not yield to what she described as Venezuelan blackmail and emphasized that the government would continue its fight against drug cartels. She added that Trinidad and Tobago's future had never depended on Venezuela following the docking of the USS Gravely off the island for joint military exercises. And moving on, a UN inquiry has said that Russia's drone attacks on the civilians near the front line in Ukraine have created a climate of terror. The Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine's report described the civilians who were chased by camera-mounted drones over long distances and sometimes then attacked with firebombs and explosives while seeking shelter. Its findings were based on interviews with 226 people, including victims, witnesses, 8 workers and local authorities, as well as hundreds of verified online videos. Russia and Ukraine have accused each other of targeting civilians in the course of the conflict, now well into its 4th year, something both sides deny. And Russia's second-largest oil producer, Lukoil, says it will sell its international assets after new U.S. sanctions over the Ukraine conflict. The planned sale marks the most significant move yet by a Russian firm responding to Western sanctions since the conflict began in February 2022. On October 22nd, U.S. President Donald Trump imposed sanctions on major Russian oil companies, Lukoil and Rosneft. A week earlier, Britain also sanctions both firms and 44 shadow fleet tankers used to evade restrictions. Lukoil, based in Moscow, produces about 2% of global oil output, but has not specified which assets it plans to sell. And Lithuania accused Belarus of hitting it with a hybrid attack on Monday after dozens of balloons loaded with contraband forced it to temporarily close the airports. Lithuania, a NATO and EU member, also shut its last 2 border crossings with neighboring Belarus over the incident. Lithuanian Prime Minister Inga Rogenin said the border closure was meant to show Belarus that hybrid attacks won't be accepted. Lithuania has authorized its army to shoot down the balloons and will decide on Wednesday how long the border closure will last. Also, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen affirmed Europe's full support for Lithuania against ongoing helium balloon incursions. She labeled the balloons a hybrid threat and vowed not to tolerate them. She also emphasized that balloons were another reason to accelerate the EU flagship Eastern Flank Watch and European drone defense initiatives. And still to come in this edition of TT India Live. ECI launches second phase of special electoral rule revision across 12 states and UTs to ensure greater transparency and accuracy. Global solar future takes center stage as 8th IC Assembly opens in New Delhi, showcasing India's leadership in clean energy transition. And devotees offer Usha Aragya as Chhath Puja concludes, marking gratitude, renewal and harmony with the nature.
Eighth edition of International Solar Alliance. I have with me some of the dignitaries around the globe. How do you see on the 8th session of this organization going forward?
the only financing product that we have announced is a $200 million Africa solar facility, where the uniqueness of that is not a line of credit or anything. We are launching what Prime Minister Modi talked about, one sun, one world, one grid for the first time.
I'm looking forward that for the establishment of a StarC in South Sudan is a collaboration to strengthen our skills.
Yes, we're going to get more interactive learning from the new platform, the new YouTube learning that they're going to set up.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. 8th session of the International Solar Alliance Assembly aims to accelerate global adoption of solar energy and deepen international cooperation for a sustainable future. Well, at the heart of this gathering lies India's rapidly expanding role in renewable energy, marked by significant achievements and bold ambitions. A report.
New Delhi is abuzz as the 8th session of the International Solar Alliance Assembly commenced today at Bharat Mandapam, gathering high-level delegations from 124 countries and over 40 ministers for 4 days of discussions centered on deepening international cooperation and accelerating solar energy transitions. The assembly, which is recognized as the ISA's supreme decision-making forum, is set to drive the global agenda for a clean, sustainable future through focused action on solar finance, technology, and capacity building. India's leadership is in sharp focus, with President Draupadi Murmu scheduled to deliver the first ever presidential keynote to the ISA Assembly, reinforcing India's commitment to the founding vision of one world, one sun, one grid, and showcasing the nation's recent achievements in solar power deployment. India's progress in achieving 50% of its installed capacity from non-fossil sources 5 years ahead of target and ranking as the world's third largest solar producer stands as an example for other developing countries. A landmark feature of this session is the unveiling of a multi-nation joint solar power bidding platform by ISA, designed to unite member countries in securing competitive solar cum storage projects and also harnessing cross-border opportunities at scale. Strategic discussions will address financing for undeserved regions, innovations in solar technology, and expanded use in sectors like agriculture and health, targeting sustainable development and energy security for all. ISA, which was launched in 2015 by India and France, now counts 125 member and signatory countries working across continents to mobilize investments, reduce solar technology costs, and promote harmonized standards and policies. With global momentum behind its mission, unlocking $1 trillion in solar investments by 2030, and transforming energy access for billions, this assembly sets a blueprint for coordinated international action in the race to achieve carbon neutrality and universal clean energy. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the Election Commission of India announced that special intensive revision of electoral rolls will be conducted in 12 states and union territories under the second phase. Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar said that this revision is aimed to make electoral rolls more transparent and error-free. Also, the CEC also highlighted that the poll body received 0 appeals in the first phase of SIR.
Andamans and Nicobar Island, Union Territory, State Chhattisgarh, Goa, Gujarat, Kerala, Union Territory Lakshadweep, Madhya Pradesh, Puducherry Union Territory, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal. इन 12 राज्यों में कुल मतदाता 51 करोड़ के लगभग हैं. लगभग 5,33,000 बूथ लेवल ऑफिसर्स इस महान कार्य में अपना योगदान देंगे. लगभग 7,64,000 बूथ लेवल एजेंट्स जो पार्टीज द्वारा नामित हैं वो इसमें अपना योगदान देंगे और लगभग 10,500 EROs और लगभग 321 कलेक्टर्स. ये पूरी चुनावी कर्मियों की जो टीम है वो इस SIR की फेज 2 में कार्य करेगी और इसको सफल बनाएगी।
And India's Member of Parliament P. Wilson highlighted India's unwavering commitment to women, peace and security agenda while delivering India's national statement at the Peacebuilding Commission's ambassadorial level meeting on WPS held at UN headquarters in New York. He stressed upon India's readiness to share expertise, training and technology with partners and friends, particularly from the Global South.
Today, Indian women peacekeepers serve with distinctions in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Abyei and South Sudan, helping build trust with communities, addressing gender-based violence and strengthening protection of civilians. Through these deployments, India has demonstrated a profound positive contribution and impact that women bring to peacekeeping and peace building. They build trust in communities and give hope to the vulnerable populations, particularly women and children. Most critically, they help address gender-based violence and ensure that peace process reflects the needs and perspectives of all segments of society.
Well, India forged closer maritime cooperation with the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia and Sri Lanka on the sidelines of the India Maritime Week 2025 on Monday, strengthening maritime ties between India and Sri Lanka. A bilateral meeting was held between port ministers of both the sides. Now, the discussions focused on enhancing maritime connectivity through the ongoing India-Sri Lanka ferry service and exploring the possibility of launching a new route between Rameswaram and Thalai Manar, further deepening regional cooperation and people-to-people connect. Also, India and Saudi Arabia too talked about maritime cooperation, with the discussions focused on collaboration in green hydrogen, maritime investments and emerging opportunities in the blue economy. Also, they talked about strengthening the maritime partnership between the two nations for a sustainable and prosperous future. While India and the Netherlands signed an MOU on maritime collaboration, reinforcing the shared vision for innovation and sustainability in the sector. Additionally, a letter of intent was signed for the establishment of a green and digital sea corridor, promoting cleaner, smarter and future-ready maritime connectivity between the two nations. Also, Cyclone Montha is intensifying over the Bay of Bengal and is expected to make landfall on the coastal regions of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha on Tuesday evening. Now, the Indian Meteorological Department has issued red alert for Andhra Pradesh and Odisha's coastal region. The severe cyclonic storm is forecast to bring maximum sustained winds of 90 to 100 km per hour, gusting up to 110 km per hour. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured full central support to Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Authorities have ordered immediate evacuation of residents from low-lying and coastal areas to rehabilitation centres, ensuring safe drinking water, quality food and dedicated officers to oversee relief operations. Rescue teams are on high alert and ready for relief and restoration. Meanwhile, the East Coast Railways, as a precaution, has cancelled over 25 trains. Currently, Cyclone Montha is moving north-northwestwards over the Bay of Bengal. It's likely to affect Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and neighbouring regions over the coming days. And the vibrant celebrations of Chhath Puja concluded today with Usha Araghya, in which devotees offered water to the rising sun. This final day holds a special significance for devotees who gather before the sunrise to offer prayers to the rising sun and thank Chhati Maiya for prosperity, family well-being and fulfillment of wishes. The ritual marks the completion of the 4-day observance that began with Nahai Khe, followed by Karna, the Sandhya Araghya to the setting sun, and ends with the morning Usha Araghya. On this day, devotees stand waist-deep in water facing the horizon as the first rays of the sunlight touch the sky. The act of offering Araghya represents the devotees' connection to nature and acknowledgement of the sun's life-giving energy. Well, Usha Araghya represents the rising of new hope, the end of hardship and the gratitude of life. It strengthens the bond between humanity and nature, reminding devotees that life's cycles of darkness and light are continuous and interconnected. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from 100% in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.